What's going on, guys? Back with another video for you today, and obviously, as you can tell from the timestamp, this is quite a long and detailed, involved video. So I am going to ask you, for those that don't normally do it, take a moment for me, hit the like button, try to see this thing over 150 likes. As always, I ask you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I always welcome critiques and comments on the videos, and lastly, I'll ask you to follow me on Twitter with the username ShutdownSafety. This is going to be the first in a series of videos that I think really touch on something the sim football community has lacked for quite a while. But it's going to ask you to look at these games differently than you've been used to doing. I'm going to ask you to look at Madden 13 as the present, where we currently are with simulation football. I'm going to ask you to look at All Pro Football as the past, because obviously it shows where we've been with simulation football. But most importantly, and often overlooked, I want you to look at Backbreaker. And when you look at these games, we're only going to focus on one aspect. Set all your reservations about the rest of the game aside. When you look at Backbreaker, I want you to understand that this was a first-year independent game. And the things that they added are what they felt were core to football principles in going up against a product like Madden that obviously has a well-standing, loyal following, regardless of what we feel about the game. So, I'm going to go ahead and get into this play. We're going to talk about halfbacks interacting with linemen. And I know this has been a topic that's been covered time and time again, but like I said, I want you to look at it in a fresh perspective when we go through this. Now, obviously, you can see I've got a Colts franchise here. LeGarrette Blount is my halfback. He's going to go ahead and take this ball on kind of a delay and come over to a point where he has to interact with Anthony Castonzo. I'm going to remove the box because obviously, as you can see, I controlled LeGarrette Blount the entire time. Part of the problem with Madden is it relies on the Infinity Engine rather than animations to allow halfbacks to get around offensive linemen. And what happens is when you don't have these interactions, you basically just have two players that run into each other, and then almost in a ragdoll fashion, they react to each other's presence. Here you can see Castonzo starts falling forward, ends up on the ground, and meanwhile LeGarrette Blount completely loses his legs, his footing, and basically slides through, regains his composure, but then goes into a falling animation shortly thereafter, only to be tackled by a linebacker. Now, this presents a number of problems. Obviously, as a user, you're completely void of control at this point. As a defender, you have a very difficult time in assessing how you're going to pursue the ball carrier. But some other things that it does that I really don't like as we go over to Castonzo is when this actually starts to occur, you can see Jared Allen is free of his animation and actually begins to pursue Blount down the field. Yet Castonzo maintains locked in his animation and continues to block even though there is no one in front of him. This really provides a lopsided matchup for the defense. So now what we're going to do again is load up All Pro Football, take a look at how it deals with offensive linemen being interacted with halfbacks. Alright, back with All Pro Football. Going to play this at speed. This, of course, our only animation-based game. Madden 13 and Backbreaker, both physics-based. But some key interactions I want to touch on here. First and foremost, a very similar play and outcome. Running back comes off the line and immediately has to interact with the lineman. And, of course, with animation-based systems, you're going to see some shifting and warping. No exception here. But, you know, again, you can see the realism here. I'm running around the lineman. You can see my steps there change. I'm also interacting with the lineman in terms of user control because I'm steering my block. You see the hand extends out onto the back of the lineman. And of course, we also have a very similar situation where a defender is coming down to help aid in the tackle. Now, unlike with Madden, I don't have to completely have my balance removed in order to still have a tackle in the backfield. You see here, when the cornerback comes down and interacts with me, I still have user control. You see there, the circle turns red, which means I'm trying to run through and break this tackle, and even though I'm unsuccessful in doing that, the key factors here remain. There was user control in both systems in terms of getting around the lineman and being tackled, and that's what you want to see in a football game. One other point I want to make here, when we talk about the lineman that's blocking, once he releases the block, he immediately goes downfield and starts to look for a second-level block. He doesn't get stuck in his animation like we saw in Madden. And one other point, you can see once he releases that block, another lineman who's already out looking for another block immediately picks up where that blocker left off. So those are two good things you see out of this game that maybe aren't as reflected in Madden. Alright, so to close out this video, I've brought up Backbreaker, and I just want to reiterate the original point of this video. We're not looking at Backbreaker for any other reason as to what a single year developed game was able to implement into its product. And in this situation, this is actually something that was patched in, and this is something that we've asked through multiple development cycles and patches to be put into Madden, and we've yet to see it come to fruition. Going to play this at speed, and then we're going to take a look at exactly what happens. And certainly, there's some bad things that happen on this play, but being overly critical of this game gets us nowhere. What we need to do is focus on what we can take from this game and put it into the product that's currently sitting on the shelves in the football category. You see Malloy gets the ball, is put in direct position to run in the back of the lineman, and then puts his hand up, steers himself off the lineman, and has the ability to run out into free space. To look at it from the other angle, you see here, gets the ball, once again, puts the arm out, and much like we saw with All-Pro Football, skirts around his own lineman rather than running in the back of him, losing balance and falling down. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in this game, but I wanted to show an example of it not doing so. I'm not going to sugarcoat this and tell you that number 58 doesn't run past a lineman and then through a wide receiver and tight end to come back here and make the tackle, because certainly that's what happens. But again, the key point is the halfback and offensive line interactions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Would love to see your criticisms of it in the comments section, and I will be back in the week as always with more Sim Football Breakdown.